Hey everybody, thanks for coming.
Oh my God, I've been murdered. Oh my God.
Thanks for coming to another episode of Adventures in Angular. Shai just got murdered. I am the host, Aaron Frost. I work with Hero Devs, I work with ngconf, and I'm one of the GDEs in the Angular community. Today on our panel, we have back again the wonderful, everyone's favorite, Alyssa.
Hey, so I totally would have, I think, said yes to a survey that asked if your last name was Frosty.
Yeah.
So you just said it, and it sounded really weird that it wasn't Aaron Frosty. So I just thought I'd put that out there. Anyways, keep going.
Tell everyone who you are, Alyssa.
Alyssa Nicoll, here to enjoy the awesome, I'm not going to run the guest, so you keep going with your spiel.
I thought it was Nichols.
No, singular. I'm a Nicoll.
Michael. And we also had Shai until he died.
Hey, I know Krav Maga, dude. I beat that guy.
That's right. He's back from the dead. Shai, do an introduction for those who don't know.
Yeah, I'm Shai Reznik from testangular.com and highres.io. And I'm sleeping outside of my home because I insulted my wife. Thank you very much.
Well, good job. On our panel, or our guest of honor today, we have, I think, generally one of everyone's favorites is Minko. And I think that's true even before he joined the Angular team. He was one of everyone's favorites. So we got Minko. So Minko, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you. My name is Minko Gechev. I'm currently working as an engineer in the Angular team at Google.
This episode is sponsored by Sentry.io. Recently, I came across a great tool for tracking and monitoring problems in my apps. Then I asked them if they wanted to sponsor the show and allow me to share my experience with you. Sentry provides a terrific interface for keeping track of what's going on with my app. It also tracks releases so I can tell if what I deployed makes things better or worse. They give you full stack traces and as much information as possible about the situation when the error occurred to help you track down the errors. Plus, one thing I love, you can customize the context provided by Sentry. So, if you're looking for specific information about the request, you can provide it. It automatically scrubs passwords and secure information, and you can customize the scrubbing as well. Finally, it has a user feedback system built in that you can use to get information from your users. Oh, and I also love that they support open source to the point where they actually open sourced Sentry if you want to self-host it. Use the code devchat at Sentry.io to get 2 months free on Sentry's small plan. That's code devchat at Sentry.io.
And now, with the song.
Yeah. So go ahead and sing the song you're
Okay, I was not prepped. You made a song for us, Minko?
He didn't make a song.
There is, Tracy has a bunch of songs, right? So we can probably take one of her songs.
Speaking of songs, I'm going to drop this little nugget. Chloe Condon. You guys know Chloe?
Yep.
Yeah. So
On the Azure, she's on the Azure team, right?
Yeah. Before being a programmer, she was in acting. And she's a fantastic singer. I mean, if you want to go check out some of her stuff on YouTube, she's great. Anyway, next year's ngconf is called ngconf the Musical. She's going to work with us, and we're going to have a bunch of Angular parodies. And then maybe Minko could sing one of those next time he comes on. What do you think, Minko?
You don't want me to do that. No, you don't want me to do that.
I think you underestimate how badly we want you to do that.
Yeah, we do. A plethora. That's how much we want it, bro. All right. So, Minko, we brought you on to talk about Angular 8. It's like this. I'm just going to say it. It's a little bit of a letdown release, but it's also really cool because everyone wanted.
Ouch. Frosty.
Burn.
Listen, I got to represent the people listening. I can't just represent me. I'm friends with the Angular team. I can't just, I understand. I got to represent the listeners. Everyone wanted Ivy. Admit it.
They got Ivy. They got it behind
an opt-in flag. You're right. But everyone wanted Ivy in general. So we didn't get Ivy, but what we got was actually because Ivy doesn't change most of our day-to-day life, but we got some stuff that does. We got some really, really cool stuff in Angular 8. So we got Minko in here to show it to us. So Minko, why don't you kind of give us a high-level introduction to all the new features, and then we'll peel them back.
Sure. So we are actually working on making sure that Ivy is not going to change anyone's life. That's our main purpose. And that's why we didn't release this part of version 8, because we want to make sure there are no breaking changes, or at least we have minimized them we have reduced them to the minimum, and we have documented everything well. So as part of version 8, we shipped a couple of features that I was really excited about, because I'm mostly focused on the tooling side and making sure that Angular runs fast in the browser. So we shipped Builders API, which provides more extensibility points in the Angular CLI. We worked on a feature called ng-deploy. So we haven't shipped the deploy command as part of the Angular CLI yet. This is just a matter of time. Like whenever we want to, we can ship it because we already provide the extensibility point for this. And we have deployment for Firebase, for Azure, for Zeit, and since yesterday to GitHub Pages.
So is the deploy for Azure, is that the stuff that like Christopher Noring, he kind of worked on that with?
Shmuela, yeah. Shmuela. And Chris, I think Shmuela and Chris were leading the effort there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we started talking to them very early once we started deciding to work on such features. We involved Azure, the Firebase team, like Google Cloud, of course, and a bunch of other folks. We talked to Netlify and Zeit, who are developing Next.js. This is the React-based framework. So we ship this, and we want to make sure that we keep iterating on this feature in order to provide even more advanced deployment. And at some point, example, support pre-rendering, support other features such as dynamic server rendering and so on. Another feature as part of version 8, which is another in the CLI, is support for web workers. So we have a generator which can generate a few files and update your workspace configuration so that you can use web workers inside of your Angular app. Another feature is we shifted from string syntax in load children in the route declaration to dynamic imports. This was based on like different reasons. First, we wanted to make sure that we are aligned better with web standards, and we wanted to shift in this direction because AiA is going to be slightly much more dynamic compared to the Vue engine. And this is one of the cool features that we can ship together with dynamic loading of components, of course.
So this helps us get closer to Ivy, get ready for Ivy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And better ID support also. We worked on the language service to make sure that it currently works properly with version 8. We shipped another getting started guide, which is much simpler, and it starts to introduce the Angular concepts much more gradually. Because we got a lot of feedback that a lot of people feel overwhelmed when they started using Angular, because we start talking about dependency, we start talking about best practices from the beginning. Components, ng modules, directives, dependencies, ahead of time compilation, RxJS, and it's too much, and people don't really need this in order to get started.
That's a lot of features. I think that's a lot more than a lot of people realize was in there. Did you leave anything out, or is there any more?
So now you regret your comment, Frosty?
No, everyone's saying it, Shai. Everyone's saying it, Shai.
For the record, Minko, I think it was a great release, okay? And you did an awesome job. And
everyone's saying it.
The migration was smooth, right? That was
It actually was silky smooth. Yeah, super easy.
And that's the main point. I think this is the lesson learned from past releases, just to make sure everyone has a smooth upgrade experience so nobody will kill us.
Yeah.
I think that the new docs for getting started, they were nice. I went through those early on and I was very happy with those. So I'm excited they're out.
Yeah, I had to mingle a little bit with the lazy loading stuff to kind of get that dynamic component loader that I built working, but that was actually really easy to work with. So I thought it was well done.
This is among my recommendations to shrink the initial bundle.
Yeah.
People's applications. So yeah, great job with this.
Yeah, I love that we haven't always been able to just call import, and I hated that for a really long time. I love the imports back because that was such an easy, when in an AngularJS project, when I was just using Webpack, that was such a powerful way to lazy load bundles.
Yeah.
And I missed it when I came into CLI. It's so great to have it back. It's better than I think a lot of people are thinking. So rather than dive in on the things I think are cool, maybe we should peel those back one at a time, maybe kind of deep dive into each one. What do you guys think?
Yeah, good idea.
So I don't really understand what builders are. Like, can you give us some examples of what I could do with a builder?
Yeah. So actually the effort behind the builders it's much bigger compared to what we announced. Kind of we rewrote the internals of the CLI in order to make sure that the APIs, the extensibility points that we provide are as ergonomic as possible. So we kind of took the internal mechanism that made the CLI work and redesigned it by reusing most of the lessons, like pretty much all the lessons that we learned in its previous version. The rewrite wasn't major, like we kept the similar abstractions, but we made it, we reduced the amount of code that we had. So this was the so-called builders API. With the builders, you can add different commands to the Angular CLI or overwrite existing ones. A lot of people they're already using the builders API. For example, a lot of folks, they want to use Cypress for end-to-end testing instead of Protractor. They wrote their custom builder, their custom end-to-end testing command. And by using schematics, they have ng-add for their package that can take the angular.json workspace file and completely update the implementation of the end-to-end command with their custom one, which uses Cypress.
So you said Cypress, and magically Joe Eames joined the podcast.
And this is the magic
I was
word.
summoned. I could feel a disturbance in the force.
What just happened? You say Cypress, Joe's here. Wow.
And I was even about to say jest, but something made me say Cypress.
That's funny. So is builders part of schematics, or is it different from schematics? Can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, it's a separate API. So the schematics, they can help you to update your workspace configuration because they're mostly related to file transformations, just to take one file and to change its content somehow and serialize it back on the disk. The builders, they're just JavaScript functions, asynchronous functions, which the CLI can invoke for you. That's pretty much all of it. In order to create a builder, you need to import the create builder function and pass a function that returns a promise or an observable. That's it.
Cool.
So a builder is not like a loader, right? A builder is it like a task? Like it would be like a task? Is that what it is? I just want to. When I saw builder, I thought it might be like akin to the Webpack loader or the Webpack plugin, the bundler piece of the CLI. And I guess, am I wrong? That's not what it is. It's more of a task type system.
Yeah, it's a task and it can schedule other tasks and receives updates from them. For example, in the ng-deploy builder that we implemented for Firebase and the one which is for GitHub pages, basically what it does, it is a single function that accepts arguments that the user have passed over the command line. After that, it invokes the production build of the application, which is another builder. And finally, it just delegates the execution to either GitHub pages or to Firebase tools. That's it. It's a pretty much pretty straightforward API that sounds fancy maybe, but it's pretty easy to get started with.
So now, for example, I have an app with Moment.js, and everybody knows that Moment has a lot of locales and all that. Everybody who used Moment, and it weighs 500K or something like that. And it used to be hard to remove those and just to ignore them in the Webpack because you didn't have access to the Webpack configuration. So with builders, is it possible to config Webpack now?
Yeah, so there is a special builder. There are actually several in the community. One of them is by Manfred. We have also another one, which replaces our default, we call it browser builder. This is something that builds the application so it can be used in the browser. It uses Webpack and stuff. And Manfred's builder, these builders, they replace the one that we provided and allow you to plug a custom piece of Webpack configuration. So by using ngx build plus, for instance, by running ng-add ngx build plus, you're going to get the default build command replaced with another one which allows you to plug some custom piece of Webpack config.
Wow. So how much does it cost?
In terms of build time or?
No, in terms of money. How much does it cost?
Dang it, Shai.
Yeah, it's for free.
Oh, it's free?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I heard it was going on sale.
I'm trying to think of how much money you could make if you actually just charged like $1.
Shai, it's half off.
It's half off.
It's half off if you start using it today.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So
The price is going to be
builders-
doubling soon.
if I'm working, another serious question, if I'm working just at a company, do I have a reason to even look at builders, or it's more for like open source projects who wants to, I don't know, customize stuff like Manfred?
Yeah, there are use cases. We ship Bazel in an opt-in preview as part of version 8. So I didn't mention two more things that we released as part of version 8.
Yeah, I was waiting for Bazel.
Yeah. Bazel we implement this is just another builder. So this asynchronous function that the Bazel builder implements, it just invokes Bazel instead of Webpack in this particular case, and that's it. Yeah, so if you're in a large organization where your application is millions of lines of code and the build that we ship by default in the CLI does not scale well enough for you, you can use the Bazel builder.
Is it like usable now? Like, is it production ready?
It's in an opt-in preview, same as AiA.
Okay. So this is a disclaimer for all you who listened.
There are people using it in production. Now we're talking to a couple of companies which are co-founded by former Googlers, and they really like the build system that we use internally. So they're using Bazel for everything, and including for building their Angular applications.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I've used Manfred's NGX Build Plus, and it's pretty awesome. The concept of builders is pretty fantastic. So let me ask a question about builders, and then we got to move on. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time. Like as part of my build, I can say ng build, and then I can also subsequently run other node scripts, and I write those just in Node or TS Node. What's the advantage of using the Builders API for those tasks versus just writing my own node scripts? Like, why would I use the Builders API for tasks versus just writing a node script?
Yeah, I guess the APIs that they're more reusable. These you can ship them as an npm package, and very easily people can just ng add them to their own project. Also, you can use the traditional Angular CLI API in order to use them. So you need to just run ng run or ng the name of the command and your target, and that's it. So these are the main advantages. Yeah, actually another advantage is that from these builders, you can actually schedule other Angular CLI tasks very easily by using the internal API that we provide.
I think we should have an episode just about that.
Yeah, we might want to have a builders episode.
That would be fun.
Yeah. We should have Bran, the builder, talk about it.
Who?
Never mind. Next subject. Okay, next topic. What was the next one?
What's the next one, Minko?
So we can talk about deployments or about web workers or about...
Let's talk about, deployment. First of all, before that, what's missing still at Ivy? Like anything is missing, or you're just like waiting for bug reports and stuff like that?
So the things that we're working on right now are that we want to make sure that the bundle. So currently, Ivy generates less code compared to Vue Engine because so we don't generate ng factories anymore, and the instruction set is much more compact that we generate. So the code that we generate is smaller than Vue Engine, but because Vue Engine was doing more things at build time, Ivy has a little bit more runtime code that we need to ship together with the framework. So the framework got a little bit bigger now. We want to make sure that we shrink the bundle so that your application is smaller than before. And actually, that's maybe one of the main not missing pieces, but things that we're working on. Also, we want to make sure that Ivy's performance is at least as good as Vue Engines in most scenarios, wherever it makes sense. Because, it's kind of we have very dynamic system, which is Ivy, and we have very static system, which is Vue Engine. With Vue Engine, you can do more things ahead of time. You can do more things as part of your build time. But in the same time, this increases your build time. It makes your build slower, and it makes your compiler to generate more code. And we are not sure whether this is the right approach. It also sets some restrictions, some constraints on top of your application. So you cannot do cool things such as dynamic import of components. You need to use third-party modules. With Ivy, we have more things which are happening at runtime, and we have a little bit more like bigger framework, and we can do fewer compile time optimizations. But on the other side, we get more cool things which can let us make our applications more dynamic. I don't know if this is not if this is too abstract or if it makes sense.
No, it makes sense. It's basically you're describing the trade-offs between the two approaches. And over the years, ever since Angular 2, you kept like the team kept like playing with those thresholds, like more dynamic or more static, or and saw like the different trade-offs. And now you decided to go more dynamic because I'm guessing. So you're waiting now to like compare it better to the view engine in terms of like static analysis or like compilation time.
The compilation time, I believe it's faster. There are some things which currently break in Ivy which didn't break in view engine because both systems are slightly different. So we want to make sure they're backwards compatible and they don't break people's projects. And we're running all the Angular projects inside of Google. We're trying them out with Ivy and seeing whether their tests break or not. So we want to make sure that all the tests are passing until we're feeling very confident that Ivy is feature ready.
What percentage of apps at Google that are on Angular are currently running Ivy, do you think?
So I need to change my room. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
now you got to change.
The question. This is a really good time for a break. Let's.
Let me discuss it with my colleague.
I don't know if he was saying that any of them are actually running on Angular, but they're running their unit tests against Angular.
Yeah. They're testing it against Ivy.
I am curious though to see like how that's been going. Like how many of the apps have been perfectly fine on Ivy versus
It's important to know because we can't get it in general release until it's on all projects at Google. So that's why I'm asking, are we at 0%? Are we at 5%? Because we have to get to 100 before it's in general release.
Rossi's like putting his radar out, trying to.
No, I just want to know. I mean, this is what the listeners are thinking too, right? Like, we don't get it until everyone at Google gets it. So how close are we? It's kind of.
I'm super curious to know about the build time and the test loading time speeds. Maybe with Ivy and with Bazel, like how much of an improvement did they introduce? So Minko, if you know this, like I don't know, statistics, because this is like a major pain point in enterprise applications. In my clients, they are suffering, like they have very slow build times whenever they need to check something or even running the test. So is it like improved, and if so, how much? If you have knowledge from enterprise applications, like big applications that uses Ivy or Ivy with Bazel, or I don't know.
Yeah. So the first question was how many applications are already using Ivy. So none of them. Once we switched to, we are running their unit tests.
We're running the tests. Yeah.
And this is actually. So we have our monorepo, and if we switch to Ivy, all the projects should switch to Ivy, right? So we have kind of we did something so that we can run the Ivy test in parallel with all the projects. This is outside of the monorepo, and once we make sure that 100% of the tests are passing, we will flip the switch, and we're going to make Ivy work for all the Angular projects out there. We are on over 97% of the test passing. I think 97.5.
97% for all of.
Yeah, for all the 1,500 applications.
Oh my
God! For all of them.
You need to videotape the moment you are flipping the switch on Ivy on all projects at Google.
That actually would be an amazing like stream, and I would be there for that.
Yeah,
just to watch you like.
Did anyone watch Stranger Things season 3 yet?
No spoilers.
That started. No spoilers. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No, don't do it.
You know the laser thing? Do you know the big laser thing?
Oh my God, why are you talking? Like what?
Blah, blah, blah.
I think that's what happens when they run all the tests. I think that's what happens, bro.
Are you actually spoiling something right now?
No, we're talking about testing.
Okay.
And lasers.
There are sharks. There are lasers on the sharks' heads in Strangers. Spoiler alert.
I did not know they added sharks, but seriously, Minko, if you wanted to stream that, I would watch that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to offer this.
Well, I'm imagining a really, really, really big lever, right? And it's one of those levers that's the electrical contacts, and you pull it down, and there's like a spark, and then lights come on. That's what I'm picturing.
There's like two keys, and people in uniforms have to look eye to eye and turn the key on the count of three, right?
They nod to each other. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
On 3 or after 3? Like we turn on it or after 3, and then everyone goes, "There's no 3 in Angular, so we'll go on 4, right?" So
Oh,
4.
1, 2, 4, turn. That's how it goes.
oh my
Oh
god.
my gosh, that's awesome.
Woof. Okay, can we get to Shai's question? Because I'm interested in that one. Shai, can you do like a mini recap of your question? Because it was like forever ago. 5 ever ago.
Yes, I asked about the build time and testing time with the Ivy and with Ivy and with Bazel. Like, what's the deal there? What is affecting the time, basically?
Yeah, so I talked about the things that Vue Engine was doing more like statically, and why the applications with the Vue Engine could be more optimized at build time, but also the Vue Engine does more operations at build time. So that's why the compilation there was slower. In Ivy, it's going to be faster. I heard somewhere 25%, but I cannot promise that. Probably it's around 25%. It could be more, it could be less. So this would be faster. I know that there are some issues with testbed, which were making the tests very slow. From what we discussed with Igor, this is going to be issue that Ivy fixes. But still, I don't want also to set like extremely high expectations that Ivy is.
So I'm quoting 50%. I'm tweeting that now. Like Ivy solve it by 50% the testing time, right?
I believe I said 25.
Okay, let's make it 40. Okay, cool. So that's just Ivy, right? That's just like, and what about Bazel?
Yeah, there's a Bazel opt-in.
Yeah, Bazel is a very, very long topic. So in order to explain Bazel, we need to discuss what is the difference between Bazel and the more dynamic system that we use. It's actually pretty similar to Ivy and Vue Engine.
We did a show about Bazel a few months ago. I think if anyone's listening, Alex came, and so I think the listeners should be informed on what Bazel is. So I guess knowing that it's dramatically different, what does this opt-in give me? Like, I'm guessing it's just some flag. I'm like Bazel true or something.
Yeah, you can enable Bazel for your new projects by specifying the schematics collection angular/Bazel.
Okay. I don't have to build the whole Bazel config. It just takes the Angular JSON and builds my app with Bazel instead of Webpack, or what's happening when I do that? So
in this case, it is going to build your application. It is going to run the Bazel's development server, which is written in Go. So it's much faster compared to the previous option that we have. Also, it is going to use rollup for bundling your application. But this, again, doesn't mean that you cannot use Bazel with Webpack. You can completely just use Webpack for bundling instead of rollup. We just picked rollup because it has fewer dependencies.
So I'm going to pull back my question. If I turn the Bazel preview on, I don't want to understand anything you just said.
Yeah.
Do I have to understand that? Ideally,
no.
I just say Bazel's true, and then I walk away it just works. Is that what's going to happen? Or if I say Bazel's true, do I have to do a ton of things?
No, that's what should happen. You're just going to use the Bazel schematics. We're going to generate a project which is Bazel compatible, and you should just use the Angular CLI the way that you're used to. There are some differences. For example, if you want to build if you want your project to grow more, like if it is enterprise scale application, you will have to maintain custom configuration and specify how to build the individual ng modules in your app. These are the Bazel build files. So you need to maintain this explicit configuration yourself.
Got it.
These are instructions for Bazel how to efficiently build your app.
And when you turn this flag on, this is not with an existing project or with a new Angular project?
It's easier to make it work with a new project because of all the differences between the dynamic system of Webpack and the more static Bazel build system. But you can convert an existing project. It depends how much custom Webpack, like magic commands and dynamic features you're using.
Can you give us a couple examples of the magic dynamic things you're talking about, just so that we can look for?
Well, if you use custom loaders with NGX Build Plus, there is no way to make this work out of the box with Bazel. You would have to put some effort in order to tune the Bazel config so that it can work.
Okay.
What about dynamic async await imports? Dynamic imports.
You can make imports, yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's actually simpler in this sense because it's Bazel. The abstraction level is much lower. So, for example, you can directly import ng factories right now in Vue Engine, and they're not going to exist initially, but after the ngc build step passes, these ng factory files are going to show up in the dist directory, and Bazel will be able to get them from there and pass them to the bundler and figure out the story from there. So, yeah.
Cool.
Okay. And what about the tests? Have you talked about it yet?
Yeah, tests with Bazel, they're using Karma and Jasmine right now and Protractor for end-to-end tests.
Okay, and is it much faster or is the same, basically the same? Because what I understood about Bazel is that because you need like to specify all the inputs and you have all of like the files which are the inputs, then it like, I don't know, doesn't really, you don't get the benefits or something like that.
When you specify the inputs, Bazel can build very accurate representation of your build graph, your dependency graph. It knows which are the dependencies of your test. So when you update any of the dependencies of your test, Bazel is going to rerun only the impacted test files, actually. It's not going to run everything. It's going to return the cache results for the rest of the tests. So it is not going to rerun them unless their input has changed, which is very convenient.
That's a huge win.
Yeah, and also for the first build time, like the first time I'm doing like yarn test, I'm getting like the stuff from the cache, like in the build?
Yeah, if it depends exactly what tasks Bazel is going to invoke during yarn test, but very likely it is going to reuse the cache. If you have built your application before that, if you have run ng-build, very likely Bazel is going to reuse some of the artifacts from this command.
Does it work right now with like changing the schematics, or is it still a work in progress?
If you try to directly switch your application to Bazel, probably you're going to hit some issues. If you create a new application with Bazel, very likely everything will work smoothly. But yeah, you can try.
Thanks. Awesome. That sounds super awesome.
Yeah, the cache test results. That's cool.
Yeah, everything about Bazel. It's like a lot to understand, but it seems really, really powerful. So did you get a chance to work on any of the features we haven't talked about yet? Let's talk about something that like you're directly doing. And maybe you worked on all this stuff. I don't know.
I worked on the deployments, the differential loading, and a few other things.
So let's talk about the differential loading, because that's one of the ones a lot of people are excited about. Like, how do I turn it on? How does it affect me or my users?
So it is going to affect, you're going to have a slight hit during build time because we're going to build your application twice, once for older browsers and once for newer browsers. We're going to produce ES5 and TS 2015 builds. But from this point, once you ship your applications, once you deploy it, the users with new browsers, they're going to download only the ES 2015 bundles and fewer polyfills because they don't need polyfill for map or set, let's say. These are ES 2015 APIs. The users on older browsers, they're going to download the ES5 bundles with all the required polyfills. So this is going to improve your application performance in two directions. First, people are going to download fewer bytes of JavaScript, which means that this is going to lead to like lower network consumption and also lower parse time. Like there are going to be fewer scripts to parse, so it's going to be easier.
So the only downside is when you build these two different versions?
Yeah, which is not a huge downside. The CLI consumes a little bit more memory. So you can hit eventually out of memory if your application is very big. You can increase also the limits of your node process to let it use more memory of your machine.
How do you activate this differential loading?
It's activated by default. Yeah, when you run ng updates, we're going to migrate your Angular application to version 8, and we're going to enable differential loading by default.
It's just like an open sesame. It just works?
It just works, yeah. There is a way you can configure it also.
I was wondering how it actually works, like in the browser.
Yeah. So we generate 2 script tags. The script tags for the ES5 bundle has traditional, just like src attribute, like source attribute, and also no module attribute as well. This no module attribute indicates to the browser that this script does not have ECMAScript 2015 module support. So newer browsers would know to not download this old bundle. The new bundles, however, they have script type module, which means that only browsers which ES 2015 browsers module support will download them, and they point to the new bundle, the ES 2015 bundle. So older browsers, they're going to consume the no module script, and newer browsers are going to consume the type module script. That's it.
So like my app, when I build it with 8, it's going to be just as fast for old browsers as it was in Angular 7, but for new browsers, it'll be faster.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of, I think, what we're saying is we're not penalizing anybody. We're only making it faster for faster things.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What counts as an old browser?
Old browser counts, in this particular case, browser which does not support ECMAScript 2015 modules. So if you don't have imports and exports,
Gotcha.
it's going to download the ES5.
So currently, which browsers is that? Is the latest version of Safari okay, or?
Yeah, it's okay. Like Internet Explorer would not pass the test with ES modules, but Edge will. The last 2 versions of all the browsers, except Internet Explorer, I believe all of them support ES modules.
Okay, so this is good for everybody that's on kind of later stuff. That's fantastic. And that's cool that you got it on by default. And I mean, that's one of the cool things about the CLI is you're saving us all this Webpack nightmare, like craziness, and things just get better and we don't have to do anything. Like
the Webpack, playing around with Webpack configs is so fun.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah, like watching my grandma, I don't know, play chess. Anyway, so
by the way, his grandma was actually a chess grand national champion.
I was going to say that was fascinating. So really bad analogy there.
That and Pinnacle.
So that means that in the future we won't have to deal with Webpack configs ever again?
Yeah, that's our hope.
How much does it cost, Minko?
To download the entire CLI? I don't know what's like your network provider fee.
That's a good answer.
That's a good answer.
The
How much data? Yeah, are you over your data limits? So it sounds like, though, to Shai's point, even though he was making it slightly sarcastic, it sounds like we're replacing this Webpack craziness for some potential Bazel craziness in the future. It's like sounds like we're going to have to maintain Bazel configs.
So there is the plan that at some point we may eventually replace the current browser builder which uses Webpack with Bazel. But this is not something like we're just in exploration phase there. We want to see whether it's worth it for a small project as it is worth it for big projects.
So you think it might be out tomorrow?
He said 50%. I quoted.
It's just like, oh man.
I'm excited.
The last time I'm coming on this podcast.
You can try it today. We're going to keep maintaining the schematic. So if you want to use it for your personal project, or if you want to use Bazel for an enterprise project, well, I would actually definitely recommend you to learn Bazel, because it's something that if you learn Bazel once, you'll be able to build your C++ projects, your Java projects, your Scala projects, your Kotlin projects, and I can keep going.
Nobody is a ninja like you who knows all these languages by heart. Okay? Most of us are JavaScript developers.
All right. Wait, you know all of those, Minko?
Of course. He does.
He's not in his head.
He reads compilers as a hobby.
It's true. He eats them for breakfast.
I want to go cry now.
So deploy, like ng deploy, what was the use case for that? Like, because most companies have Jenkins and I don't know, Travis and all that stuff. What was the idea behind, like, okay, adding the deploy step there?
Yeah, so a few motivations. The first one is that, well, for simple static applications, the deployment phase is pretty simple. You just take your assets and you put them somewhere. So that's pretty simple. And with differential loading, we kept it simple. Oh, something that we didn't mention while we were discussing differential loading is that most of the feature, the actual implementation, came from Manfred, who is one of our committed collaborators. He spent a couple of weeks working on this feature.
I love him. I love
working with him.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Manfred is the coolest. And you mentioned like collaborators. What is that?
What is it?
Yeah.
So, how do I get one?
Okay, I'm going to pause the deploy conversation a little bit. So to make an intro for the collaborators program, I would love to share with you actually the first PR that I did to Angular, but at some point I will do that. It was in 2013. I opened a pull request where I updated one brace in the documentation because there was a missing brace in the angular.js interceptors example. I spent like 2 hours opening this pull request. I extremely nervous because, well, like missing brace, like Google does not make mistakes. Like, what's that thing? Probably the mistake is on my side. So I wrote this entire example. I saw that actually there is a missing brace. I reopened my pull request, and in 2 days it got merged, and I was extremely excited. And after that, of course, my collaborations, my contributions got more and more frequent, and I didn't have to spend 2 hours for a missing brace in the docs. But it was hard for me to ship big features, something like differential loading or like improvements in any of the modules that we maintain. And that's not only for myself, that's for everyone, because it's hard to ship a big feature which aligns with the roadmap of the framework, which makes that fit really well with all the other modules that we maintain together. That's why we wanted to give the opportunity to everyone who wants to contribute, to people that we already trust, actually, who has been doing this for a while. And in the same time, like to help them contribute more and to help us, of course, to build more features. This is why we started the Angular Collaborators program, where we invited a couple of folks who has been like regularly contributing to Angular over the past couple of years. And Manfred was one of these folks. So we invited him to join. He implemented differential loading. We're happy to keep working with him in the future.
Love him.
Yeah, with Deborah, we're working as well with Gali, who is working on Zone.js, and a few other folks.
Love them.
Wow. So they all have like now 30% of Google in shares because of that?
That's good. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
But is it like, seriously, is it like the program, is it like a paid job or something you do and you get recognized or something like that?
So yeah, we try to support the collaborators as much as we can. We don't have dedicated budget for this program though.
So it's a way to get work for free.
It's mostly a way to ship new features that people enjoy working on and support the collaborators.
No, but that's actually like...
I was just trying to troll you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're like all funny aside or not funny aside, okay?
Not funny?
It's sort of funny. Anyway, so actually there is a lot of benefits there because I know like I ran like a program called the Goodness Squad, and we try to like do pull requests to open source projects, and sometimes you work on something and you don't have the support from the core team, and that way you can basically waste your time trying to merge something and get like the cold shoulder because it's something they are already working on or it's not part of the plan. Yeah. So having the support, the official support of the core team with like advice or with like help, with like insights, that could make a huge deal, especially if you are depending on on a feature that your company is very like suffering from not having that feature. So you could do like much more. So actually, there is a lot of benefits in such a program.
Yeah. I contributed like this for over like 5 years, and I had different opportunities in the meantime. Like eventually, I joined the team, but I built a startup in the meantime with Angular. I had the opportunity to present on NGConf the product that we developed, and it's another like a long topic, maybe for another episode.
Seriously though, on the thing, because no one's taking this collaborators thing seriously, so I'll finally take it seriously. Just kidding. I was just kidding, Shai.
I just asked a serious question.
I know you did. You called me out for not being serious, so I'm going to be serious now. So if I understand what it is, it's a way for people from the community to give back to the team, but it's also a way for like a big company to help have an opinion around Angular and help influence some of the stuff that's going into it. Is that did I make that up?
That's possible, yeah. Of course, we are going to keep the project's roadmap the way it is right now. It's going to be based on the internal requirements that we have here at Google and based on the requirements that folks in the community have. Like we're looking at our issue tracker all the time. If there is an urgent feature that we're planning to implement, that it makes sense for the entire ecosystem that we maintain, and we cannot prioritize it soon enough, then if this is critical feature for a company, they can come and implement it, and we can collaborate on with them to make sure that it fits well with the other modules that we maintain.
How people can join this, and what happens once you join it?
So the way to join us is just keep collaborating to Angular, and when we see that you're doing a great job and we have enough mentors available, we'll get in touch with you
and then you get the 30%. Okay, awesome.
Oi, good job. And then we're in.
30% for everyone. That's
in math.
No. In my math, it works. Okay,
that's a lot.
9 people so far, which is 100%.
Yeah. So okay, awesome. So that's the way. So just keep contributing and helping the open source project, and then you will get picked up from the crowd and you will get a badge and a high five from Mishko.
No, so then I'm guessing at that point you get to go to your boss and say, "Oi, I'm a contributor," right? Or you get to go to Google and say, "Oi, I'm a contributor," in your interview when you interview at Google. I'm guessing it helps your career to be a contributor for the Angular project.
Yeah, I went through the interview process 8-9 months ago. It was definitely good to be known in the community and to have built some stuff that Google uses.
That's so hard to believe, because I think that's what you're the whole point. Because you're so well known in the community, it feels like you've been around forever, as a part of the core team. So I think that's the point, right? That you were so, I guess, influential in the community already that it made sense.
Yeah, well, and of course, during the Google interview, nobody from the Angular team, if anyone from the Angular team knows you, they are not supposed to interview as well because of different rules here. But
you just got in for free.
No,
I don't know you.
Unfortunately,
you got by Sergey.
Yeah, they bring in Sergey for those interviews.
So the ng deploy.
So yeah, the motivation for ng deploy was, and I need to change my room in 1 minute. I have.
Another avoidance of...
And then we'll do picks after the ng deploy. We'll do picks.
Yeah.
The motivation for ng deploy. All right, I need to change.
Go.
Timing.
So actually, for static sites, it makes sense, right? For GitHub pages or stuff like that, and Firebase static pages, and actually makes sense for that. And I remember back, in 2015, I think, when Igor did the first Angular CLI talk, where when nothing worked because of the internet connection. So he actually talked about the plan was to have this ng deploy and to deploy to Firebase or stuff like that, or Heroku back in the day.
Hey, some people still use Heroku.
Yeah, and also
how dare you?
Also
How
Perl.
dare you?
Anyway, so
I spit on you, Heroku.
So,
ouch.
I'm here. Sorry for the delay.
No, we answered the question already, so you can.
I heard the answer. Yeah.
Just relax. We got it covered.
Yeah. Thanks, though.
So our motivation was that we have the HTTP archive where we can see how many Angular applications are using everyone. That's accessible for everyone. For everyone anyway. So,
it's like one of the Google spy tools. We get it.
It's widely available tool where you can see how many applications are using content compression, for instance, or CDNs. And we noticed that over 27% of applications were not using content compression like gzip or broadly. And CDN was about 80% or so. With ngDeploy, we kind of try to push people to use best practices, just show them how, just like to automatically deploy. When you automatically deploy to GitHub pages, you get all these things for free. And it's a little bit tough to deploy some certain types of applications using pre-rendering or using server-side rendering. With ngDeploy right now, we support only static sites. Eventually, at some point, we're going to implement other features for more advanced use cases.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
There's more features we didn't get to talk about, but I think everyone can see there's Angular 8 was like packed with stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff to get. If you're not already on it, get on it and do your update. Get going on it because it's pretty fantastic, and it's actually one of the easiest ones to upgrade to from 7 to 8. So,
Hey, are you working on a complex enterprise Angular application? Angular Bootcamp is an intensive 3-day workshop class to learn the basics of Angular through sophisticated techniques for real-world applications. They update the class regularly for the most current Angular, and a lot of the curriculum is also relevant to older versions. Or you can go beyond the 3-day class with help from Oasis Digital, the team behind Angular Bootcamp. They can assist your team or launch your project, including scalability, data flow, state management, service architecture, full-stack product design, and a ton more. Or you can contact them for a private class at your location or attend public classes in cities around the US and occasionally in Europe. Online live instructor training is also available at angularbootcamp.com.
let's move on to picks. I'll go first because I don't want anyone to steal mine, specifically Joe Eames. I'm going to pick Stranger Things Season 3. No one can pick it now. And my favorite part was... Just kidding, Alyssa. No, I'm just kidding. And then I'm going to pick Angular Denver, which is a cool Angular conference. It's coming up at the end of this month, at the end of July or the beginning of August. So Angular Denver. That's my 2 picks. Who wants to go next?
So I will go next. I was on an awesome show earlier today, so I'm going to promote it on Angular Air, where we had Dominic and Quentin on, and they were talking about template streams and change detection profiling. And it was a really amazing show with live demos that, were broken and fixed live, and it was beautiful. So definitely suggest checking out that show.
That's awesome. Just out of curiosity, when you go to one of your friends' restaurants, do you get up and tell everybody about the really good restaurant that's next door? Just curious.
I'm sorry. Listen, I love you guys.
No, but she loved them better.
I wouldn't say I love them.
But they have tacos.
No, you know what? They have video.
No, I mean, this is a cool podcast.
Cool too. You guys.
This podcast is pretty cool. So,
you should be proud of yourself on this podcast. You've come a long way.
Would you all hush? Bonnie sends her love and she says hi, and you keep doing your picks.
That's funny.
Can I go next? I want to go next.
Let's hear it.
So there's this other podcast. It's called the DevEd podcast. And we had it yesterday. And I'm totally going to pick that now. It was really cool. And check this out.
This podcast is good, but the DevEd podcast.
The podcast is real. Yeah,
Hey, can I go next? So there is a framework called React, which is very...
Hey, I'm not done. You're
Oh, sorry.
Steal the mic. I haven't dropped the mic yet.
Sorry.
We had Bonnie and her daughter Sam on the DevEd podcast yesterday talking about learning with challenges, right? Because Sam is dyslexic. And it was actually one of the coolest things because she did this thing. I got to participate in this thing called the cake test about determining if you have dyslexia or not.
I've done the cake test a lot.
You've done the cake test?
Okay.
Well,
did you pass the cake
wait.
test?
Oh,
I've done it.
I think we're talking about different cake tests.
Okay, my bad.
We might be talking about a different guy to take cake test. This is not one that the Cheesecake Factory is an official sponsor of.
My bad.
Yeah. So anyway, we did that. It was really fun. And so actually what I'm going to pick is Bonnie and Sam, because Bonnie and Sam are cooler peeps and so fun to have and chat with. So we really had a great time. And the best part was when Sam would start to talk and then Bonnie would jump in and say, well, tell him about this. And then Sam would be talking and Bonnie like cut off. Tell him about this. It was actually really fun, but
That doesn't sound like Bonnie.
doesn't like it was really weird. Totally not like Bonnie. Yeah, it was super awesome. Great time. So that's gonna be my pick.
Okay, thanks.
Shai?
Yeah. So my pick is the devchat podcast. Okay, and specifically the last episode, which was with me. So it was the best episode. Okay, of course.
This podcast is good, but that one.
Listen,
So-
there is room in everyone's
No,
hearts for multiple podcasts.
No,
right?
no. There is a competition and they won. Okay. So anyway, and my other picks are so I have two shows: Ozark on Netflix, which is amazing.
Oh, so good.
So
Yeah,
good.
amazing. I really
I can't wait for the next season.
That show
Yeah.
is just way too dark.
no spoilers.
Yeah, no.
And also Cobra Kai, the second season went out a few months
Is it
ago.
good?
It's for kids, but it's fun. It's fun. It's for 80s kids.
Does Johnny put anyone in a body bag?
Put it in a body bag.
How many people get put
Anyway.
in body bags?
At
How many legs were swept? In
least 3.
and will they increase the number of swept legs in episode 2 or in season 2?
It depending on the ratings. So the last thing is the concept of doing something you're not comfortable doing. So this week I went and did stand-up comedy in like an open mic evening, and I didn't do it for like 12 years, and it was horrible. I was horrible, and it made me super uncomfortable.
You know, you're
And-
really selling this pick.
Yeah, like I'm so convinced.
I'm glad you picked
Googling right now.
I'm glad you picked it.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like a good pick.
Are you picking root canals next? Is there root canal in the next pick?
Shooting
Well-
yourself in the foot with a loaded gun. Food poisoning. Try it. It's the best.
All right, focus up. Give us a positive, Shai. Give us a positive.
positive. Okay, so I was about to say that it's just like a root canal. It's painful but necessary. Okay, so
You're a perfectionist, so I'm guessing it was actually pretty good. It didn't measure up to your perfectionist level. So I'm guessing it was probably good.
no, it wasn't good. So, but the thing is that it made me like set a goal that I'm gonna crack this challenge and figure out how to be comfortable in a like hostile environment. Let's say.
The good news is that because you're you only have to have that goal for 3 months, and then you'll get a new goal.
Exactly.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So my pick is getting out of your comfort zone. That's my pick.
All right. Be love.
I was going to pick Angular Denver, but you picked it already. So way to go. And there's this new project that I've heard about, and I want to play with it, but I haven't yet, called RxJS Spy. I'll put a link in the show notes.
By Nicholas.
Yeah. Have you used it?
No.
Why do you know everyone?
It is by Nicholas. Yeah.
My Nicholas.
But it looks pretty cool. Like it's a debugging library for RxJS. So rather than just using the tap operator and console logging and hoping that it works or guess.
Please, God, let that work.
Yeah, exactly. It looks cool. I've checked it out a little bit, but I haven't had a chance to actually use it yet. So yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think about it.
Yeah.
Slightly more effective than prayers when debugging your RxJS.
Yeah. Holy Spirit, help me find the RxJS problem. Yeah, no.
When I'm really intensely
You're really-
debugging, I cross both hands. Cross my fingers on both hands.
You all laugh, but I have prayed about bugs before.
I'm pretty brave about bugs.
You're really selling RxJS now. Very
Please
good.
guide me to the error in the stream.
For a guy who runs an RxJS conference, you're really selling RxJS now.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I don't know what to say. I love RxJS Spy. I'm selling that. So what else? What else? Beloved Spy?
That one, and then the last one I have is just getting outside. So my wife and I are on vacation, and we're hiking in the Tetons, and it is awesome. So get outside. It's summer. It's fantastic. Enjoy some time with family. Do it.
Where is this place? I'm not sure that I've
What
been
is a
there. Where is it?
Teton?
Oh, the Tetons are in
Oh my
Jackson,
gosh,
Wyoming.
Alyssa, please do not ask that question, because somebody might actually answer that question with a truthful answer, and we'd have to like scrub it from. You'll have to Google what the word Teton means. They're mountains. They're mountains, but we're
just
leaving it at that.
Or just imagine.
French word. I don't know exactly the translation, but
You don't know? Oh,
it's in French. Okay.
it's French. Google it, but don't say it out loud on the podcast. Everybody can go Google what the word Grand Tetons
I
means.
think it's Spanish, just so everyone knows. But
No.
I thought it was French.
Tetons?
Yeah, I'm 90% sure it was named by a French explorer. 90%.
So. Yeah.
Oh, isn't it the song by Cisco? The ton,
Yeah.
ton, ton,
Yeah,
ton,
yeah.
no?
Yeah. That's it.
So you're picking outside.
Yep. So I'm picking outside. Go for a hike. Get out there. Enjoy it. It's a great summer. So
Bring sunblock. All right. Minko, you got any picks for us?
Yeah, there is. So do you know the safe navigation operator in Angular? Like where you can put a question mark and if this property is
Elvis operator.
or Elvis operator. Yeah, there is some progress in TC39 around optional chaining, which has very similar semantics to this operator. So this may eventually show up in JavaScript at some point.
Where they
Around that.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is my main pick, I guess. And also, like, there is a really cool boxing gym here in San Francisco, HitFit. So, yeah, if you're around, you can give it a try.
HitFit.
Cobra Kai.
Put them in a body bag. All right. Everybody, thanks for coming and listening. Minko, you're a fantastic guest. Thanks for dealing with all of our sarcasm and giving such a great effort to the Angular team and to the Angular community.
Yeah,
Minko. We love you, Minko.
Love you. All right. We'll catch everyone next time. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CacheFly.com to learn more.